cheers to our very first episode together. Show starts in 3, 2, 1. Oh my God! Thank you very much, Sylvia. Do you mind me using your last name? Because I know how you feel about that. Guys, this is an amazing person today. Her name is Sylvia Ramirez.
Ramirez.
Ooh, correction, buddy. Ramirez. And she's done a lot of amazing things, guys. She's struggled through a lot of obstacles, but through her perseverance in life, she has been able to overcome many of those. And just like everybody else, you know, like obstacles keep coming and they keep coming and they keep coming, and you get through A and then you have to go to B and then to C. And I'm just happy to have you here and be able to talk about some of those struggles, how she overcame them, and then how you can use that in your own life when you see obstacles as well. What's one thing that you're... Actually, the question that I had in my head was, if you could be any animal, like what animal would you want to be?
I've always thought I would like to be a bird.
A bird? What type of bird? Is there a specific bird?
But I'd be too scared to fly, you know? Because I'm just that kind of person. Maybe a penguin, because penguins don't have to fly, but they're still birds technically. They swim. They're really good swimmers.
Okay.
And they're really cute.
Only, like, would you want to be any other animal? Like, if you had a choice between maybe, like, your top 3 animals.
I feel like all the animals that I want to be would be, like, domesticated.
Mm-hmm.
Domesticated animals. Maybe, like, a cat or a dog. Especially if they have really nice owners, you know.
Yeah, because you get to live, like, the lifestyle of a royal.
Exactly.
You know, so the other day I was thinking about it and I was like, would I want to live the life of a royal? And then I was like, there's no way. Like, it was actually during the practice of graduation. No, during graduation yesterday. ACPA students, shout out, you guys just graduated. I'm very happy for you guys. I'm really proud of you. Anyways, like, it's me and Maldonado, and we're like walking through, and there's a bunch of people like taking pictures of us. And I'm just like, ooh, this is what it feels like to be famous. And then I was like, dude, it probably, you know, this is like the royal life. You know, it's just like you feel yourself. People are always looking at you. People are always taking pictures of you. And then I was like, I wouldn't want to live like this. You know, people are just all over your business.
You're under a microscope all the time.
Yeah.
There's like not a detail of your life that people don't know. They know who you're dating.
Mm.
They know where you're at on weekends when you want to spend quality time with your family. They're there. I think it would suck. But I mean, the money doesn't suck. Everything else is kind of like pretty tough.
Did you follow the royal wedding? No. What about, did you follow like some of the backlash that the wife was getting, the queen was getting? Like
Meghan, the new queen?
Yeah. I guess because she's like part black, right?
Yeah, she definitely is biracial. If anything, I think not like anything negative against her. I think it was like the crowd that was like just shining like all this positive energy onto her and like, you know, encouraging her. I think I saw more of that. Thank God. But I don't really follow them, you know?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, the monarchy isn't really something that I find interesting.
Down with the monarchy. You know, one of the like crappiest things that I've noticed is how sometimes these monarchs go to countries that have been previously colonized.
Imperialized, yeah.
And then like they like, I saw this picture of the dude, I don't even know his name. What's his name? Henry? No, that's like an OG name.
Harry.
I was close. H.
Yes.
But anyways, like he was in this country in Africa, I don't know, remember what name of the country, and like they were being carried on this thing, and like literally they were on the shoulders of black people, and I was like, what? Like, that shit's for real? Like, that shit still happening today? Like,
I just think its origin is what really pisses me off. It's just like, you know, it was just a way to like justify the repression of people. It's like, oh yeah, we were chosen by God. We're in this position because God wanted us to be in this position. We're superior because God wanted us to be superior. And I'm just like, nah. I mean, it's like more modern now, obviously.
Yeah.
But I just think like the royal bloodline, like blue bloods, that whole thing is just ridiculous to me. To me, you get me? But I mean,
hey, do you think that people were on drugs when they were like, God spoke to me?
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. From like one reason or another, you get me? Like, people had like little epiphanies for like
Yeah.
many things. Many things.
What if like drug users today, if we were to like listen to them, they might create like the new Bible?
Or like the next Messiah, maybe.
Yeah, maybe
I think
he's like
that's
somewhere
totally
downtown.
Yes. Yes.
You know, maybe we should go interview some of those people. You know what? Henry actually gave me that idea. Yeah, he was like, hey, bro, like, you know, so why don't you go to downtown and interview those fools? And I was like, those fools probably got some crazy ass stories.
Of course they do. Those people are amazing individuals. They just, you know, they're down on their luck.
Where's my little Pickle Rick?
I hit it.
Ah, Pickle Rick is supposed to be here. What is one thing that you're really passionate about?
I feel I'm passionate about many things, but more than anything, I'm passionate about the environment and about helping people that are disfortunate. And like, it could be in many different ways, like financially, you get me, socially, you know, just people that are like minorities. I want like a better life for those people, because we're those people. We grew up like, you know, in a low income community, and those people are the ones that I'm really passionate about helping.
Like, how did this passion grow? Where did it come from? How did you develop it?
I feel that, so when I was in high school, shout out to Huntington Park High School.
3, 2, 3.
There was this there's this organization, shout out to them too. So they're like Youth for Environmental Justice and Equality, and they have like their office in like Pacific Boulevard. You know, like it's super like, you know, amazing. It's just it really hits home, because it's like, you know, it was made there in the hood, like where we grew up. And this organization goes to like, you know, schools in Southeast Los Angeles, and they give you all this knowledge that you just weren't even aware of. Like, hey, look, this and this is going on in your neighborhood. We just want to share it with you, and you do whatever you want with that knowledge. So I feel like that organization was in HP, and they were just like, you know what, like you live in a low-income community. You live in Southeast Los Angeles. You live right next to Vernon, and Vernon is one of the most industrialized cities in Southeast Los Angeles, and it's very polluted. And you are exposed to many, many different hazardous like facilities and like just health conditions that not others are, you know, exposed to, just because of like, you know, your income and the skin color that you have. And that's what really got me started, you know, just being taught the disparities that were out there, why they were out there, how they were happening, and why it shouldn't be like that. I guess that's like really what really got me worked up. And I just like, it really just started this, I don't want to say this anger, but this like, this need to just be like, no, dude, this is not fair. This shouldn't be.
Well, you never said the name of the organization.
Yeah, I did.
What's it called?
It's called Youth for Environmental Justice and Equality.
Okay. Clearly missed that part.
It's huge though.
And so, look, HP is so polluted that what would the kids call it when they would go to HP to either play lacrosse or track meets? What would they call it?
They call it many things.
What was that one thing that you told me in the past that they called
They
it?
call it Hot Pockets.
What else? Okay, she forgot. But people
They
like
would call us Hot Pockets though.
people would go in there and they would call it like Cancer Town.
I never heard that.
Okay, it doesn't matter. But she's definitely told me in the past that.
What I
she's heard a lot of
remember
kids say
though,
that.
what I remember, because so I'd ride my bike senior year, because I had a free first, so I'd ride my bike, and you know, riding your bike is like an amazing thing, especially during the spring and the summer, because it's a nice day, you're just riding your bike, and then like just a whiff of Farmer John just slaps you in the face. That's what I remember. So I just feel like everybody in HP in the surrounding area, you just know what that smells like. I could just tell you, oh, Farmer John, you know, and you just know like what
Everybody
that smells
knows.
like.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm talking about, that air pollution, those kind of things that not everybody is exposed to. That's what I remember.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. You went to HP, you graduated in 2012. After that, you went to Cerritos College, right? What was like your experience getting into Cerritos College, and what is one thing that you wish you would have known before you started Cerritos College as an 18-year-old?
So just like a little background information, I wasn't the best student in high school, especially, you know, freshman, sophomore year. It just wasn't my thing. And then I joined sports. And obviously sports really are really picky about your grades, but it's a good thing because that just motivated me to like really work my butt off. But unfortunately, like my grades were just horrible the first 2 years, so my GPA sucked. And all the colleges that I applied to did not accept me. All 4 of them. And it sucked because it was just one of those things, like I feel like as a student, many of you are probably going through this or went through this. It's like you feel like you're not good enough. And you work so hard. I worked so hard those last 2 years of high school, and I just felt like I wasn't good enough. And I feel like Cerritos College is like my last choice, my last resort. And it's just, community college is just stigmatized. Like, oh, you know, only dumb people go there. You don't even need a GED to go there. But I went there, and I feel like it was just so hard because no one else had done it. I was there by myself. I didn't have any friends to go with me. I just did everything. I was an 18-year-old, you know. Even now, I just look back and I was like, wow, I did all of that by myself. I took my placement exam. I enrolled by myself. I turned in all the information that I needed to turn in. And again, that's one of the things that like first generation college students have to go through. And it was hard. I was there for a really long time. And now I will say this is my advice for people that are going to community college. Make sure that you join a program that will give you priority enrollment, because that is one of the things that I struggled with the most. So yes, I was there, but I couldn't get any classes. Like none that I needed. I was just taking classes, just random classes that at the end of the day just wasted my time. I think that's why I was there for so long. I was there for 7 years. Not 7 years, like 5 years, but it's been 7 years since I graduated because I took breaks in between. But you can join something like EOPS. You can join, I think that's called, I think those what's it called? Education Opportunity Program, something like that. EOPS, yeah. And then there's also like DSPS, those are for like disabled students. And just join any organization that you could get your hands on that will give you priority enrollment. I was literally at Cerritos for 3 years before I got my first math class.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about like why it took you 5 years.
Yeah.
Right? And because you know, some people are not as fortunate as others to go into community college and get out in 2 years. In fact, that's why most people recommend not to take that route. But I mean, I'm one of those people who took that route as well, right? And faced those odds and said, like, I heard everybody in the whole wave saying, don't do it. I told you guys before why I did it and all these different reasons. It was related to football. I was one of the lucky ones to get out. But like, I want to get into that story as to, like, why the time, you know?
So my mom is a single mom. I have 3 older brothers. By the time that I got out of high school, it was only my mom and I. My brothers were out of the picture, so mostly it was just my mom making money to support both of us. And I feel like it was very important for me to get a job at that point to help my mom out. Not only to help my mom out with bills, but in the way to help my mom out as in I didn't want to ask her for anything. If I needed gas money, I had money for gas money. If I wanted clothes, I had money for clothes. I just didn't want to ask her for anything. So I got a job for that reason. And I was working like, the first job I got when I was 18, and I was working like 30 hours a week. And you know, as an 18-year-old that's never seen that much money, it's like, I'm gonna make money, you know?
You feel like you're bombing.
Yes, you're about that. And it's like, the more hours that I can get, the better. And that's what I did. I decided to, like, be a part-time student and be like a full-time employee. And at that time, I felt like I was doing what was right.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't realize how much time is passing you by until you're just like, man,
Yeah.
I've been here for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the reasons. Another one was I have an anxiety disorder. I feel like sometimes when stuff gets bad, you really need to take care of yourself and you really need to prioritize the important things in your life. And to me, it was tough to realize this, but to me, my mental health was more important because I wasn't going to do well in school if I wasn't doing well mentally. So I took a break from school, probably 1.5 years to just really get my stuff together, really put myself together, really have like this just calmer mind,
Mm-hmm.
pick up different grounding techniques like for my anxiety, and then I hit the books again. So I feel like as students oftentimes we neglect ourselves because we're just pushing for all this production, like, oh, I need to be productive, I need to get grades, good grades, I need to get out of this as soon as possible, and you just neglect yourself.
Mm-hmm. Guys, life is not a race. You're not competing against me unless you want to, but then you start to complicate your life. You know what I'm saying? When you start comparing yourselves to all these individuals, you are not me and I am not you and you are not her. But the reason why I bring this up is because if she would have never taken that break, she potentially could have been in a far worse place. So I want to remind you right now, if you are currently in a situation where you feel stuck, you're mentally not doing well, you're spiritually not doing well, you're physically not doing well, I want you to take a step back and really analyze your situation and say it is okay to take a year off from life. And maybe I'm not giving you the best advice, and I don't necessarily want you to take it as advice, but I want you to see the perspective and understand that there are thousands of people just like her that have to do the same thing. Because if you start trying to overly produce and you're not capable of taking care of yourself, you're not going to exist for too long, right? That's why people sometimes they let go of themselves, right? In so many different ways. So I just want to remind you guys, life is not a race.
It's a journey.
It's a journey, and that path takes a while sometimes.
And we all have different paths too. I mean, I think what really helped with me was my mom said, la escuela siempre va a estar ahí. School's always going to be there, regardless of where you end up, where you go, how long you've been away. If you really want to, and if the timing is right, because timing is everything, you could always just go back.
Right. And to tie something back to what you're saying right now and earlier about how when you were 18 you wanted to keep working, or that it felt kind of good to get money, I got some of the best advice ever, guys, when I was 14 years old. One of my football coaches, I was 13 years old, 12 to 13, I was playing Pop Warner football. His name was Coach Sal. Bald head, older cat, he literally always biked it everywhere. And this one time he just sat us down and he had this really like frank conversation with these little young ass kids that were so far away from working at the time. We're just like, what the hell are you saying this for, right? But he said, guys, after you graduate from high school, do not, for your own sake, go straight into working. Why? I asked him. Of course I would ask him. Because you're going to be working for the rest of your life. Instead, he said, go to college. Take another 4 years to get to know yourself, to relax, to enjoy some of the finer things in life. Again, that path may not be for you. You figure your own path. But that advice worked for me so well because I was looking at my parents and I was looking at the people before them and I was like, dude, I see these grown-ass people in the streets at the 99-cent store, at McDonald's, at the hardware store, and they're so old and they're working, and I'd be like, these people have been working their entire lives. And then I told myself, do I want to work my entire life? Absolutely not, right? And so, I've gained so many different ideas since then, but that one thing that remains was have fun. Don't forget to have fun. Find yourself. You know, find your passions, because without passion you have no flame, and with no flame you can't like light a situation up. You know what I'm saying? You're like a dead human being walking through the streets, and I don't want to kick it with dead people. You know what I'm saying? Because dead people are dead weight. And the way I want to go in life is kind of like my backpack is already full. You know what I'm saying? And if you want to get on the backpack and you're not going to move yourself and you're just dead weight, now you're slowing me down.
I just feel like we could only give you, you know, examples of what we've been through. I honestly feel like life, especially as like a young adult, 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, it's all about trial and error. You're going to make mistakes. You're not going to do perfect right off the bat. I feel like that's how life should be. You should get yourself into a mess, then figure it out and learn how to get yourself out of it. I feel like that's the most important part. And it's like, you know, if you don't do things right now, you always just try again later.
What's a mess that you've been in the past that was like really tricky to get out of?
I just feel the whole school situation. I feel like once I was out for as long as I was out for, like I said, almost 2 years. I was working and I was like, do I even want to go back to school? Maybe school isn't for me. But then I was just like, you know what? I miss it. I miss going somewhere and having conversations and having relationships with professors and getting to know them. And, you know, just having that kind of environment, learning environments. Those are the best kind of environments. But I feel like getting yourself back into, or transitioning back into something that you got yourself out of is always going to be a hard thing, especially if you've been out of it for a while. So definitely, that was one of the hardest things I did. Just really just being like, you know what? I need to get this done. And I'm going to do it right now.
Yeah. What was like one major tool that you utilize in that mess to kind of help you out?
So a support system was really what helped me out. Now, you don't have to have this crazy support system like 7 homeboys or homegirls, you get me? Like, because some people I feel don't have, you know, a squad. I personally don't have a squad, but I'm talking about like a genuine support system, because it's about quality and not quantity. And you're also gonna learn that the older that you get. So just find those people and go to them for advice, and, you know, like, ask for their 2 cents, you get me? Don't go off of like based on like what they say. Oh, okay, I'm gonna do it because she said I'm gonna do, like, I should do that. No, really contemplate what they say and just reflect. A lot of reflection. So I feel like seeking advice, seeking people's like opinions, you know, like being like, oh, what should I do? Like, I don't know if I should go back. And if anything, if you don't want to talk to, you know, up to someone about like personal stuff that's going on in your life, pros and cons list help a lot. That's what I do when I am having a really hard time deciding with something that really has to get done. I make a pros and cons list. That's what really helped me out.
Yeah, it's actually really highly effective. I don't know if you know this, but Benjamin Franklin was utilizing that same strategy like hundreds of years ago.
How do you know this?
No, well, yeah, I mean, I studied history and stuff, but anyways, like, and I teach economics, so like, in one of the early principles, there's an article where Benjamin Franklin is like, one of the best strategies that you can utilize in a cost-benefit analysis. That's basically when you realize, like, is the cost worth the outcome? Like, you make a pro and cons, right? Like,
that's great.
The pros of buying this camera that I'm using right now, I think outweigh the cons, right? And so when you create that list, you're better able to rationalize, right? Because the human individual, we as people, we make a lot of buying purchases based off of our emotions. Right, all these companies, man, they're really smart with the way that they sell things, and oftentimes, like, I don't really need these shoes, but somehow I've been wired, socialized to want these shoes because there's some worth tied to these shoes that when I wear them walking down the streets, I often get compliments from usually guys who are like, dude, that's some cool shoes.
I like your shoes, bro.
Exactly, and that makes me feel good. right? And again, that goes back to that same brainwashing.
I think it's a validation too.
For sure, right? It makes us feel good.
I mean, we're social animals at the end of the day.
For sure.
Like, how are we not going to appreciate validation, recognition?
Mm-hmm. And like another example I heard the other day on Joe Rogan's podcast was like, this dude was like, dude, I love cars, and I thought it was going to get me all these ladies, but instead, I just got a lot of attention from guys. And then I was like, damn, like that's so true.
Don't they say that about the gym? Like being super buff guys, you think you're gonna get all the girls at the gym, but it's like the guys that are like, dude, how'd you get so ripped?
I guess, yeah, it's the same concept. It's the same concept.
I hear that. I don't know
it's the
if
same concept. Overall, though, I mean, I think like looks like they help. Like you're walking down the street and you're like super fine. Of course, people are gonna look at you. But it doesn't stop there, like the attraction, everything is a bigger picture, right? Like let's say this girl looks at you and then like you look away, that's it, it's over, right?
We should
like,
close the window.
Yeah, for sure. Like you're. But yeah, like we're talking about basically like validation and stuff like that, and you're walking down the street, you got these hotties and stuff looking at you, but if you're not like confident about it, like approach them, then it's over, like I feel like people are constantly testing your confidence, they're constantly testing what you know, and like then they pick up all these little subliminal messages and they're like, nope, I don't want him or I don't want her anymore, and they keep moving and moving and moving and moving and moving. But anyways, let's move on to a different conversation, a better conversation. You picked up this book, right? Jonathan Kozol or Kozol? Oh, I should know this name.
I've said it both ways. I said Kozol.
Savage Inequalities. Why? I mean, like, what does this book mean to you? What have you learned from it? Mm-hmm. How has it inspired you, etc.?
Okay. So I read this book my first year of college in my freshman composition class. And I just feel like, so I was in a program called the Puente program, and they focused a lot on social inequalities. And this book focuses a lot on social inequalities in regards to the kind of education that you are offered as a child of color in a low-income community. Not only that, but this book also talks about environmental inequalities, because honestly, environmental inequalities and social inequalities go hand in hand, especially in low-income communities. And that's what basically I want to tie my passion and like the fire that I have within me to this book. This book really got me started on the whole me wanting to make a change, me wanting to major in something that could help me make a change.
Yeah, and what is that thing that you want to major in?
So I'm majoring in geography. And now geography isn't about math. Well, it is, but not just math. Geography is a very broad major, and you can focus on very specific things. And specifically, I want to focus on cultural geography. Mm-hmm. And that will focus, I just love it because it focuses on like historical things, social things, political things. And within that, I could focus on environmental racism, which is, again, is something that I am passionate about.
So, do you have any concrete examples of environmental racism, perhaps in Southeast LA or any other place for that matter?
Yeah. So, if anything, people that live in Southeast LA, people that live, honestly, it's any city that's within the area, Northern Long Beach. If you walk out of your house, there's literally examples everywhere. So I'm sure we've all lived next to processing plants. We've all lived next to oil refineries. You, for example, you live right next to the Alameda Corridor. Now, the Alameda Corridor is this huge, just train track that just goes on for miles on Alameda. And those trains carry very toxic waste when you're sleeping. And they do this on purpose in case there's like a spill, in case there's an accident. People aren't directly exposed to it. So they pick very, very specific times. You know, you could feel your house rumbling in the middle of the night because of those trains. So it's literally in your backyard, those kind of examples, because those things are in your backyard. Those oil refineries. I live in Southgate, and we have a World Petroleum down the street, and you could smell it when you're driving past it. He knows that. It's things literally that are outside of your door, and I just think that we're so conditioned to those things that we don't realize they're in our backyard.
Right.
Now, if you go to places that are like of higher income, that are wealthier, you don't see anything like that. You see nice golf courses. You see nice malls. You see nice parks. You have amazing gated communities. And I think that's why it's so important to go out of your hometown, because only then is that you have that exposure and you realize, like, man, I'm definitely not in Kansas anymore. It's so different. I think what really put it into perspective for me was when I lived in the Central Coast for half a year. It's like, it hurt. The first few months, it hurt to breathe because the air was so crisp and clean up there. Like, it was ridiculous. Like, I know it sounds funny, but it's like even your lungs get like
so sharp and so clean. Your lungs are like,
yes,
oh,
they're like, what is going on right now?
I can't breathe. It's good stuff. I love that fresh air. Like when we've gone to like Lake Arrowhead, like I'm up there and I'm just like, woo!
And it's a bit, but there's those allergies. Just because we're so used to this concrete jungle, there's like, you know, just factories and just asphalt everywhere. Where are the trees? Where are the flowers?
Right.
And I feel like when you go to those places that have all this pollen, that have all these plants, your system is just on overdrive. Me too.
So, I mean, you mentioned some examples of environmentally unfriendly, unpleasant things to be around. But would you be able to explain like where the racism part comes into play?
So this is where it gets pretty complicated, pretty deep. And there's also there's a lot of history within this. So there's the whole process of just, I want to compare it to the chicken or the egg. Like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Now you have all these companies here that are concentrated in low-income communities. And so you have to think about it. So were the poor people here first? Or were these companies here first? Because these are like entry-level, like, you know, company jobs. This is where the poor people work. So it's just like, oh, those companies are there because that's where poor people work. And it's just like, no. What came first, the chicken or the egg? Was the company there first? Or, you know, did the company see all these poor people living here and then decide to integrate themselves into the community? So I feel like it's environmental racism because you have to realize that it's people of color and minorities that are exposed to hazardous facilities more than their white counterparts. And it has a lot to do with your income. It's that simple.
Yeah, who was there first then? You don't know?
It's the chicken or the egg.
Really?
Yeah. What do you think was there? It's theory.
Oh, I mean, I want to think that the industrial companies were there first. And because the industrial companies were there first, then people started urbanizing these cities because before then there was rural towns where rural towns were very distant away from each other, right? So then these companies were like, dude, we're gonna industrialize the country.
So that's definitely a possibility, but it isn't a given. So it's totally like industrialization is definitely a thing. We have a lot of our black communities here for that reason. So after World War II, we had this huge migration of black African Americans move from the South to the west of the country because they were able to get those industrialization jobs. And at this point in time, black folk had it really good. Like that's probably one of the first times in U.S. history where Black people were able to have nice cars, nice wages, nice living conditions. But then again, you know, institutional racism had to come and mess it all up.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like institutional racism is like way clearer, way easier to understand.
No,
like,
I could
thousands
like
of examples.
I could like further go into this. So what I mean by institutional racism, so restrictive covenants is definitely a thing. So restrictive covenants.
Okay, go for it. I was gonna say, like, I want to first clarify, like, environmental racism before we move on to, like, institutional racism, institutional
No,
equality.
I think I did a good job of saying what environmental racism is.
For sure, no, I'm good with that, but, like, the part where it's still kind of, like, tricky in using that sort of terminology is because, in a sense, like, we kind of put ourselves in this position, like, for example, like, my parents, like, you know, they kind of chose to end up where they ended up. And
because they can't afford to go anywhere else.
Right. But like at the same time, like there is another part of the country that could probably be a lot cheaper. Like Oregon was there, Washington
well, your
was
parents
there.
are here because of the migration that happened in the 80s. That's also a geographical thing.
Yeah, but I feel like culturally, we love to be with like our own.
Yeah,
right?
that's
So like when they're
Chain
migrating,
migrations. Chain migrations.
So like, you know, they didn't want to go to Minnesota, you know what I'm saying, where there's gonna be like no Mexicans. They wanted to go to East LA, right? And in East LA, it just so happened that in the 80s, it was already highly industrialized, right? So they got into the garment industry.
So what?
Got into all these different
So what
industries.
you're saying is, it's kind of like. So is it really like other people's fault that we find ourselves in this situation?
Yeah, what I'm thinking is like, it for sure feels like environmental classism, but it because now they've stayed here, you know, and they're like definitely not trying to go into like Palisades, but like environmental racism, like it's kind of like, is it really racist for...
It is racist because you have to see certain situations like, you know, like Flint, Michigan. So that is a perfect example of environmental racism. If rich white folk were dealing with really, really poor water conditions, they wouldn't go this long with not having that issue fixed. Now that, to me, is clear indications of racism. To other people, it might not be. Oh, it's just a coincidence. I don't think it's a coincidence. To me, it's very clear.
I think that's a great example. Because you're right, you know, like how are people gonna be drinking this toxic ass water for years, and not only that, but have your own public officials lie to you and say the water is clean, and then you get all these people sick, and it's like, dude, you're lying to me. Like those people need to be prosecuted and held accountable for those actions. And another example that I would highly consider as environmental racism would be the Dakota pipelines, right? Where there's all these indigenous people who have had sacred lands for thousands of years, guys, like thousands of years. And then all of a sudden, you know, you get, I forgot the name, well, I guess Dakota Access Pipeline, where they're basically like, there are white towns around there, right? And coincidentally, you know, they decide to do it on the sacred land of indigenous peoples. And it's just kind of like, dude, you have a choice, and you chose the people who are marginalized. You chose the people who are like that politically powerless. And when you do those things, it has so many repercussions on the environment. So first of all, you're damaging the environment like crazy, even though they're telling you, do not put an oil pipeline under our clean water reservoirs because it's going to leak oil and it's going to infect the water that we have been using for thousands of years to basically feed ourselves just clean water. Like they say themselves, water is life.
I just feel
what happens after that?
I just feel like those things are done on purpose because they see you as someone that isn't, you know, educated, someone that doesn't have just the means of defending themselves, and that's just how they see it. They see you as someone that's inferior because of your, you know, your income, because of your education level. I honestly feel like that's the reason.
Right, definitely. And I mean, I feel like it even goes deeper than just seeing you a certain way. I think that at the end of it, they just don't even care. You know, and that's the part that makes me so sad. And it's like, we live in a day and age where we should be investing our time, energy, money into creating technology that is gonna push us away from using all these natural, unrenewable resources, right? And it's just like oil, we shouldn't be using it anymore, and especially down, we shouldn't be creating like pipelines under the water where people would use to like live their entire lives.
Not only that, but I mean, we have to be realistic. A lot of these things aren't easy to like, you know, discontinue, to stop. What I would, you know, encourage is for people to go for those, you know, like restrictions, and like go for like enforcing certain laws, certain, you know, like I said, restrictions. I feel like that is what the realistic approach. Like, okay, yeah, you're gonna like, you know, put that pipeline there, but I want someone that's there on the dot when something like, you know, fishy's going on. I need to have someone constantly, you know, like maintaining this thing. I feel like that is what really has to happen. But no, these people are like, oh no, it's fine. You know, I just feel like reinforcing certain policies is what is really gonna make a difference.
Yeah, definitely. So there you go, guys. 2 major examples of environmental racism. And it's obviously like a big concept, and like there's obviously like some disagreements, and like there's room for, you know, this and that. But at the end of the day, there's people being hurt, there's people being marginalized, there's people that are upset, and I just want to find the best way to kind of go about it, right? Like, what is going to be the best solution? And currently, I think the best solution is to invest in technology that's going to make these corporations say, like, you know what, like, what's the point of hurting these places? And like, even though they might still be like, you know, screw these, like, you know, Native Americans, which is not cool. I'm definitely not with that. Like, I hope that there's somebody out there thinking of ways to kind of step us away from that.
I feel like the most that we can do right now that is definitely within our control is educating ourselves. So I feel like that's taking things into your own hands. Educate yourself in regards to your rights, in regards to what's around you, what food you're eating, what kind of air you're breathing, what kind of water you're consuming, the quality of things, and why they're like that, why the conditions are so poor. And fight for your right to have clean water, fight for your right, because those are basic human rights. And those things should not be taken from you because of where you live and because of the color of your skin. So definitely educating yourself is the main step, the first step to almost anything, any kind of revolution.
Where are you going to be continuing your education?
Okay. I feel like we should talk about the other colleges, like the whole application process. Not all of it completely.
Well, I mean, what college are you going to? You know, where are you going to further your education? And what was the process of getting there? Because, I mean, you know, oftentimes, like, she got accepted into Berkeley, you know, and it's kind of like, people will be like, whoa, that's crazy. But there is a battle there, right? And the process. And I want you to be able to explain, like, where you're going, why you're deciding to go there, and, like, what did it take?
So after 5 years at Cerritos, I applied to universities. And I applied based on my major. And I feel that process wasn't really challenging itself. I feel like it was very rewarding because I was just like, I'm finally gonna do this. You know, like Jesus said, I got into Berkeley, and the sad part is that
Couldn't afford it.
I couldn't afford it. It's honestly, I think that's gonna be like one of my greatest life accomplishments. I think any kind of like social situation, I'm just gonna be like, randomly, I got into Berkeley.
It's a big deal.
It is a big deal. It is a big deal. And it's an amazing campus. So like people that are like contemplating applying, do it. I don't have a crazy high GPA. I have a 3.4. I just made sure to get my stuff done, to get all my major prep classes, Now, I think that what really made a difference for me were the personal insight questions. Just be as detailed as possible. Talk about your struggle. Obviously, don't play a little tiny violin. Just be realistic. Hey, look, I went through this, this, and this, and I did this, this, and that to overcome it. Just talk about your life. Be honest. Talk about all the things that you had to overcome, and I did all of that because I did have to overcome many things, many obstacles. And I feel like Berkeley, in regards to what I wanted to major in, geography and more specifically like focusing on social and environmental inequalities, I feel like Berkeley really saw like the potential in me, and I feel like that is what really made a difference. So I didn't go to Berkeley because I couldn't afford it, but I chose to go to UC Santa Barbara instead. And I mean, it worked out because it's closer to home. But definitely the whole transition process is definitely going to be challenging, but it's something that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, and it just kind of goes to show that everyone is gonna be constantly in a point of transition. And what I mean by that is kind of like if you're growing, there's supposed to be a transition point. Like, for example, myself, I'm currently 25 years old, but like in indigenous circles and in indigenous ways of life, like men don't become men until after 25, 26, 27. Obviously, there's no specific path to how to get to manhood. In fact, some people probably get there earlier depending on your lifestyle and things of that nature. But I am in the transition of my own, and maybe like fatherhood, another one, and like when your parents pass away, like that's something that I think about often. Like, damn, like what am I gonna be like after my mom passes away, after my dad passes away? Like, that is something that's going to be so impactful. In fact, I heard somewhere that you don't know what struggle is until your parents pass away. Whether you're closer to your dad or your mom, like you don't know exactly what that struggle in life is going to feel like when they pass away. And it just seems like something that's not too far away. As far away as I used to think when I was like 15,
that is
12.
A scary thing. But we definitely are always in transition. I feel like, so I'm 24. I feel like transitioning into like a UC campus at this age is very intimidating because, I don't feel as youthful as I once did. And I would have loved to go into a UC or a Cal State right out of high school. But like I said, I didn't. And I just feel like that's, again, another example of timing is everything. I feel like things don't happen for a reason because it just simply wasn't my time, and that's why it didn't happen. But yes, it's all about timing, and transition is all about time as well.
Yeah, so do you think that, I guess you believe in God or the universe? Because like, that's essentially in a way what you're saying, it's like there's a grand, well, that's what I'm saying. There's a big idea, there's a big grand scheme of things where this happened to you because in 10 years from now, this other thing is going to happen. I think it's more of a combination. Mm-hmm. Like, there's kind of like all these millions of paths already there, right? Mm-hmm. And depending on what door you open, now you have access to another path. But those paths were, in a way, destined. They were already there. But you just have millions of outcomes, right? And that's what I love the most about life is the amount of infinite possibilities. Maybe that's like some quantum theory, and to be honest, I don't really understand it. But I remember my cousin George, Mimi's brother, they're all freaking smart, dude. Like, she went to UCLA, he went to Berkeley. And I was like in elementary, straight up. I was in elementary, like 10 years old. And this fool's right there, like, straight up like nerd type fool or whatever, but he's like watching a movie on quantum theory and the possibility of infinite possibilities. And here I am, this little ass kid, and I'm just like, what? There's a possibility that I can walk on water? According to that, there's a possibility of everything and anything. And I'm very appreciative of that moment as a young kid because that just kind of gave me an idea, and I was like, what? Like, maybe I can be whatever I want to be. Which at the time, like, it was probably like some type of like athlete, you know, like professional athlete or something. That clearly never happened, you know. But I mean, it's really cool. I'm really happy that I was able to have those people in my life early on, because they were like, I don't know, they were intellectuals, you know. And even though like I don't think I'm like that type of smart, I still think that they influenced me in a way to like want to be smart.
I just feel like life is very, very intricate and very precise with things for me to not believe that there's a higher power. Now, as far as it manifesting itself into like a male, you know, Jesus Christ and like God and all of that I'm not sure about. Because I feel like a supreme being can be a woman, or, you know,
or a squirrel,
or a gender, or a squirrel. I definitely do feel like things are just so precise and so perfect that it's just like, is it just coincidence? I mean, I really definitely don't think the universe was made in 7 days, you get me?
Yeah.
And on the 7th day, God rested. No,
Yeah.
It's not possible. But I really do feel like there is something definitely greater than both of us that it just knows what your life is gonna turn out, how it's gonna turn out, what it's gonna turn into.
Right.
It's like you already have all of the hardships, all of the triumphs destined in you. It's already written. It's already in your story. But it's just what you're living now is just what's being written down.
Like, we're not even talking about like prophecy or biblical stuff, but it's just so crazy how like mathematically speaking, like the universe is so damn perfect.
Not even.
Sorry for that.
But anyway, back to crystal structures. It's just the way that I learned about crystal structures. How many atoms are in there? What kind of like formation they were, like, you know, a simple cube, like what was it? The face-centered cube. It was just the way that atoms are located in a crystal structure. Like I don't even know if you guys have ever seen this, but like Google images of salt under a microscope, and the structure of it is so precise every single time.
That's crazy.
And it's just like
perfection, right? Geometrical patterns intricately embedded into every single atom that is a part of us, and the floor that we're on and the chairs that we're on, and it's kind of like, wow.
We're all made of atoms.
Wow.
Everything.
What are atoms
and it's
made
just
out
like
of? What are atoms made out of?
Subatomic particles.
What are those made out of? Stuff.
Those are just it. They make everything. Protons, neutrons, electrons.
Yeah, but my point is like, you know, you just get into this.
No, you can't get anything smaller than that. Can't get smaller than that.
Then what made that? I don't know. If you can kind of think and say like, what is like one thing that you really want people to leave with, or to think of and say like, hey, this is something that I can apply in my life moving forward, so that I, like, after watching this episode, I can use these things, I can use these tools and live a better life. What will those things be?
I feel that oftentimes we live our lives really afraid of making mistakes, because we just live in this society where people just strive to be perfectionists, to just get it right the first time, to just, you know, secure your bag like at a really young age. Like, you know, you're trying to just do all these things to be set, but it's just like, take your time. That's what I want to say. It's gonna take as long as it has to take. And when I was younger, I remember seeing all these like pictures of people graduating, you know, people getting married, people having babies all over Instagram, and it's just like we all have, you know, different things that are gonna happen to us at different times, and that's okay. And I remember I always worried about things not happening at a time that I wanted them to happen. But my dad he says this thing, he's always said it since I was little. Because I was, you know how people say you can't teach an old dog new tricks? So it's like the opposite.
I like how they say it in Spanish.
there's an opposite saying, and then it's basically los campos they're ancient, so fields are ancient fields, and they still give flowers. So los campos son viejos, viejísimos, pero todavía dan flores, and that's what really stuck to me, and just to keep pushing, regardless of how old I am, regardless of how young I am, regardless of if I thought the opportunity already passed me, I'm still gonna keep growing flowers, making those flowers grow, watering those flowers, encouraging those flowers, nursing those flowers. Take care of your flowers.
Well, that is some deep stuff, guys. I want you guys to, as she said, nurture, pastor your fields, which are your loves.
And get rid of those weeds too.
Yeah, because they're going to mess up your flowers.
Yes. And you know who those people are. In case you needed to see that.
Right.
This is the sign. Get them out of your life.
But nurture your spirit, man. Nurture your mind. Nurture your body. Nurture your dreams. And all those different things. And little by little, I think that your life can improve. This whole entire thing is all about love and positivity. And whoever gets this message, I hope you spread it. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the amazing Sylvia Ramirez. I hope you guys truly gained something out of this. A great conversation. And just in case someone wants to reach out to you, where can they find you?
So you can hit me up on Instagram. It's Mamacita. So MAMASIT and then _AA.
There you have, folks. You can find me at Drippy_JFlow. Keep spreading the love. Keep spreading the message. Guys, like, comment, subscribe. You already know what the deal is. I had a blast today, guys, and I can't wait to let you guys see this. See you next time. Boo!